Well, you may know Chris Fabry as a radio host. You may know him as a fiction author. Well, tonight, following the Christy Awards, Chris Fabry is an award-winning fiction author. And face the camera there, Chris. You actually have 2 medallions and the Christy Award in your possession. And you were nominated in the Contemporary Standalone category for 2 of your novels.
Yeah, the way it happened was both of the novels that came out in the same year. So the year before that, I wasn't even nominated because there wasn't anything out because of the publishing schedule. So this one, it just happened that there were 2 out. They put them both up for nomination, and they both, were nominated. So I had a 2 out of 3 chance of winning or losing, whichever way you want to look at it.
Well, that is excellent. And I've got to ask you, obviously you're a radio guy. People know you. Your voice is very familiar to our listeners. How did writing get involved in the mix?
Writing and radio is about the same thing.
Absolutely.
You're speaking here. I'm writing this in my head as I'm talking. But it's a different discipline. And then when you think about plotting a novel, creating another world with different characters, this story is really about a non-Christian guy. It shouldn't go into the Christian market. It's about a non-Christian guy who is dealing with all of his demons, who's dealing with his wife who is a believer and his son who needs a heart transplant and doesn't have any idea where God is in all of this. And he keeps going back to his addictions. So of any of the novels that I've written, this one should not have done very well as far as, a Christy Award. But I think because I handled a real life situation well, they saw that it was not just this say a few verses and everything is good in the end, because it does. I want to give the end away, but not everything is wrapped up in 300 pages or less, and that's the way our lives are. So as our stories, as the stories that we tell mirror the truth that we see lived out and around us, as well as the transforming power of the Scripture, then I think those stories will have some power, and I'm just really, really happy.
Now, was this novel or these novels based on true events?
All of my novels are based, in a sense, on characters that I've come into contact with. One of the main people that the main character's name is Truman Wiley. I worked with a fellow in TV news for years and years, and he went on to CNN and he went to other places, and I loosely based the main character, Truman, on him and all of the things that he had seen and that he had experienced, and the spiritual struggle then I superimposed over that. I don't know how much he has struggled with those same things, that I found, but there was a real guy that I kind of based it on and then let my imagination run.
Well, tell me about the 2 books. You had 2 books nominated in the category. One was the winner. Tell me about those 2 books and the relationship between them.
Okay. Not in the Heart is the story of Truman Wiley, and he's the fellow who's the journalist who's made a lot of bad decisions, whose wife has been praying for him for a long, long time. The other book is called Borders of the Heart, and it sounds like they're together, but they're really not. That story is, I think, one of the reasons why God moved us to Arizona, because when we went to Arizona, it was a totally different world. You're really, really close to the border, so you've got a lot of illegal immigrant issues, a lot of violence issues, drugs issues, and a lot of people who are salt of the earth people who want to come to this country, So you've got all of that wrapped into this story of a guy who's had a big loss in his life, who goes to Arizona to work on an organic farm to learn how to do that and the reasons behind all of that. And then he comes into contact with a young woman in the desert who he thinks is dead, and she's not. She's alive. He finds her, and that then catapults him into a world that he's never been in, and he doesn't want to be, but he is. And so in a sense, it's a love story. It's kind of like Jeanette Oak and Cormac McCarthy. If they got together and worked on something, I think this is something they'd come up with.
Well, returning to the award-winning novel, it's Not of the Heart.
Yes.
Truman Wiley is the main character.
Yes.
What was the nature of some of the spiritual struggles that he was encountering?
Well, he has to believe that there's a God, or he has to, first of all, figure that out. And I think Truman does suppose or presuppose that God is up there, but he thinks he's not knowable, and if he is, he's not good because of all these bad things that happen to him. And really, in the back of his mind, psychologically, I think he thinks, what kind of a God would put me in a marriage with a good woman like this and inflict all of my pain that I can't harness on her? And so you see him throughout struggle with himself, struggle with the whole God issue, and the novel itself really is a whodunit. It's a question of a murder that happened years ago and a guy that's on death row that he has to figure out, did this guy really do what he's been convicted of? So there are a lot of different layers in the story. And again, I think that's one of the things that probably attracted the judges, because it feels like it could really happen today in the system the way it's going.
Sure. Well, sounds like a lot of big questions that you were dealing with. Chris Fabry, again, congratulations. Great to have the chance to chat with you here.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. God bless you.